Well, I couldn't decide what I wanted to say. I wanted to do either "Welcome Back" Cotter's theme song, "Welcome Back," or Eminem, "Guess Who's Back, Back Again." But after a week off, we are back. Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. If you're wondering why I look different right now, it's because I don't have my camera set up from our. We just got back 2 days ago, and I haven't got essentially my studio slash corner of my bonus room set back up with my camera and everything. So that's why my video is a little bit different this evening. But the same old Vols showed up and beat up some Tigers yesterday. Rustin, what were your takeaways from Tennessee's very convincing win over LSU?
Shot the ball extremely well. We I thought shared the ball really well. They kept commenting when we dropped 50 in the first half about how many of our made baskets came off assists. Zakai has turned it into another gear. He's playing at a level. He's playing at a first team All SEC level right now. Really impressed with him. Josiah continues to do all the right things. He's peaking at the right time. It was fun to watch. They're really starting to understand what it looks like to share the ball, and I think I want to see Tobe Awaka get a little more aggressive on offense, because we're 2 fouls away from him needing to play major minutes. But I love where we are right now. I love the rotation. It's been nice to see Jordan Gainey and Jemai Meshack come in and immediately look to score. I think they've taken some massive steps in the right direction.
Totally agree. Tyler had a little shot at you there. He said Evan has gone rusting on the job mode with my camera set up. Bayou Tiger fan. Welcome, Bayou Tiger fan. Said softball crushed their opener. Basketball's on fire. Zakai, little big man. Absolutely. Totally agree. My takeaways from yesterday was, man, oh man, if you can have Jordan Gainey come in off the bench and score 18 points, no one will beat you.
Yep.
That was my takeaway. Kudos to the team that, they're up by like 20 something and got down to 7. They cut it to 7 at one point. And Tennessee put it back together and finished the game well. So kudos to them for regrouping and gathering themselves and finishing it out well. I mean, it's hard not to find a lot of stuff that you like about what you saw yesterday. I mean, I'm not sure what they were from the free throw line, but watching it live, it seemed like they were a pretty high percentage on the free throw line.
75.
Yeah, so that's, as a team, that's really, really good. So, a lot of things to like from what you see. Dalton had another fantastic game. It's hard to complain. Jeff's with us. Jeff, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. He said, "Hey guys." So, Rustin, let's do. I think player of the game would be a little bit more intriguing. So let's do play of the game first. What was your play of the game?
Honestly, I didn't have one. I thought it was pretty. I thought every possession we did a great job controlling the ball. If I had to pick a play of the game, it's not actually a play; it's a decision. And it happened with about 8 minutes left in the game, and it was actually a defensive switch by Dalton Knecht. He has struggled defensively, and LSU ran a really nice set, and Tennessee was switching screens, and Dalton Knecht recognized what they were running and called out the screen combination to Jonas and Zakai. And this is hard to pull off, but they created a 3-man switch off of a double screen that LSU ran. And Dalton's the one who called it. He saw it coming. He yelled at him. He orchestrated it. So I don't know that it had zero impact on the game, but for me, it was, okay, he has progressed to another level that people wanted to see out of him. And that was a big step for him. And it may never become an issue down the road, but I thought that moment he sent the message to the rest of his teammates that he could be trusted on defense. And they have not always had that thought with him this year. And who knows? He may have a big defensive stop in March that, wins a game for us in a crucial moment, and it could go back to that moment last night. But it was something else. I don't know that I've ever seen somebody recognize an offensive set and call a triple switch on the fly during the play.
I think that's a great choice. So I have 2 honorable mentions and then my actual play of the game. Number 1 honorable mention is just an honorable mention because it was so embarrassing for LSU. There was a play in the second half where they tried to screen. Dalton was guarding the ball, and they tried to screen him. And dude went over the top of the screen. Dalton went under the screen. So he pulls up to shoot the 3. And Dalton reached over the top of the screener and blocked the dude's shot. And he barely even jumped. Like, he hardly jumped at all. He just had such long arms. He reached up and blocked the dude's shot. It was like he was playing against a middle school team in that moment. Yeah. It was embarrassing for LSU. This guy reached over your screener and still blocked the dude taking the shot. I mean, that was embarrassing for them. So that was an honorable mention. My second honorable mention happened in the first half. And one of the things that I've absolutely loved from Tennessee this year is their interior passing. It's phenomenal. Well, they had another example in the first half yesterday. Zakai was in the lane. Jonas's man kind of slid toward him a little bit. He made a beautiful bounce pass. Woo, live television. He made a beautiful bounce pass to Jonas, and Jonas finished it with a slam. This beautiful play, absolutely beautiful. And so that was my second honorable mention. But my play of the game goes to Santi, because without him doing this, it wouldn't happen. In the second half, Santi deflects a pass. They're up by 21, I think, at this point.
The behind-the-back save.
Yes. He deflects a pass. Ball's going out of bounds, so he dives for the ball in midair, gets it out of bounds, throws a behind-the-back pass back into play. Zakai catches it, kicks it up the court to Jordan Gainey for a layup. So Jordan takes out half the camera people on the front row.
Tennessee somehow got some video footage, and they posted it earlier today, where Santi actually saw Zakai and knew the only way he could get it to him was behind the back. It was a camera angle right down the base or the sideline, and you can see his eyes as he's saving it. He glances back and sees Zakai and makes the pass, knowing he's going to Zakai. It wasn't a save; it was a legit pass.
Yeah, that was very, very impressive. And so that was my play of the game. Some folks are chiming in here with their plays. Let's see. Papa J said got a little too close for comfort there for a few minutes. I agree totally. When they cut it to 7, you're like, oh man, come on guys. And then they did put it back together again, which was good. So that was good to see them regroup and be able to respond that way. And by the way, welcome Papa J. We're glad you're with us. Thank you, buddy. Welcome. Jeff's play of the game. He said the and 1 for Dalton when LSU had cut it to 8. Great choice. Great choice. Because that was a major momentum swing back in Tennessee's favor there. It's a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, we're glad you're with us, man. He said for entertainment purposes, Zakai splitting LSU's defenders on a double was pretty hilarious.
He did it several times, and a few of them it was pretty stinking impressive. Like he was finding ways to fit through gaps that I didn't think a human being could go through. It was unreal.
Is it fair to say that over the last month, Zakai has gotten quicker?
If he hasn't, he's definitely decided to play at another gear, because it feels like he's playing a lot faster.
I mean, I don't know, maybe if it's his knee is finally back to where it was prior to the injury. I don't know.
Could be.
But like okay, against Kentucky, he just looked at a different speed than Kentucky defenders. I
Yeah.
mean, he was just blowing past them.
Well, even last night, there was a couple of times the LSU defender I thought was in good position. He just went right past him like they weren't even there.
I
It
mean,
was impressive.
it's like he's got a different gear right now or something. So I don't maybe the knee is feeling much better than it was prior in the season. Who knows? But at least from the eye test, it looks like he's playing faster than he was even at the beginning of the year. Let's see. Like you said, evening bros, welcome. We're glad you're with us. She said, I like the blind pass from Santi, best play of the game. So she agreed with me. That was her favorite play of the game. Audrey, welcome, Audrey. Good to have you. She said Zakai is in top form right now. Totally agree. Not only is he playing faster, but he's consistently making outside shots right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been a wonderful thing to see. That started really about 2 weeks ago. He started consistently hitting outside shots, and I mean, here's the deal: if Zakai and Jordan Gainey are both consistently hitting shots, no one will beat Tennessee.
Yeah.
I think that's not overreaction. I think that is totally fair. If those two guys, because Dalton's always going to be Dalton. Dalton is able. That's the good thing about Dalton. Even if he's not hitting his outside shot, he knows how to get points. He knows how to get to the basket, create shots, and he scores in the lane. I mean, we saw that against was it Alabama? I think it was Alabama. People were like, "Man, Dalton didn't really shoot the ball as well as he normally does," and he walked away with 24 points. And you're like, "Well, that's a pretty good night for not shooting well." So Dalton's going to score. That we don't have to worry about that. If you got Jordan Gainey and Zakai consistently hitting shots from the outside, I don't see teams beating them, because then you still got Santi, Josiah, Jonas Adu, all these other guys who can also get points. I mean, it would be difficult for them to lose if that's what's happening. Audrey said that Zakai's on fire right now. Absolutely. Mino Ike agreed with that, with my assessment there.
I mean, even the Kentucky game, Dalton didn't shoot the ball well against Kentucky, but somehow still scored 16, and we combined for 103. I mean, that's crazy. In rough.
Absolutely. Jeff said Zakai used to play full speed all the time, but he's learned now how to change his pace up, catches them flat footed. I definitely think there's I definitely think it's part of it. A little hesitation dribble, and then he blows past him. Like you said, they were on fire from the beginning, set a tone. Totally agree. Last night, they started the game, 15-3 is how the game started last night.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. I totally agree with that. 100%. Tyler said, what sets this team apart from many of the previous teams is an actual legitimate big man presence in Awaka and Adu. I think that's a really solid point. At lunch today, we're sitting there at the lunch table, and I was talking with some folks, and I brought up Jonas because I think his contribution to the team right now is we don't even fully appreciate what he's providing to this team. Because you're exactly right. He is a solid big man presence that has not been present in quite a while. And so I think that is a tremendous asset for this team right now, the way especially his defense, how he's altering people's shots, how he's able to maintain verticality and not commit silly fouls. But the most improved thing of his game is his touch around the rim. Yeah. It's incredible.
I was about to say the most impressive thing about him last night was finishing. He only took 6 shots. He was 4 of 6 from the field, had 10 points. So, making the most of his opportunities when he gets them, finishing. And, LSU's big men definitely weren't finishing. So, it makes a difference.
All right. So in the comments, let us know who your player of the game was. Rustin, who was your player of the game?
So Zakai was 1 assist away from a double-double. And I really, Dalton's out of his mind right now. He's in another stratosphere. But I really feel like the last month the difference has been Zakai. Like he has really risen his game. I thought he was completely in control of that game last night from start to finish. When he was on the court, it was like, we're just going to do whatever we want to do. And The other thing I love, and I don't know if you noticed it or not, there was and Rick Barnes commented on this. He's really challenged Zakai to become more vocal and really be kind of the true floor general and run things. There was a dead ball. They were shooting free throws, and Zakai was ripping Jemai Meshack. And at first, Shaq was kind of arguing with him and pushing back. And Zakai didn't back down at all and was telling him, no, this is what we were in. You should have done this. And Shaq nodded and said, yeah, you're right. Like, you could read his lips. He said, yeah, you're right. And it was telling. I mean, he's sitting there telling probably the best defensive player in America that he had just blown an assignment. And Jemai was kind of pushing back on him. And then Zakai won the argument. And it was right there for everybody to watch. So, everybody standing around that court was listening to Zakai rip Jemai during the free throws. That's a big deal.
So my player of the game, the thumbnail may have given it away. I hope everybody appreciated my pun in the
Cameron
thumbnail.
Carr.
You got it. Yep, that's it. I said Vols gaining momentum on the thumbnail. Hope everybody appreciated that one. So my player of the game was Jordan Gainey. I know, he wasn't the leading scorer. He wasn't the leading rebounder or anything like that. But my goodness, if you have a guy coming in off the bench and he scores 18 points, yeah, it's going to be hard to beat a team when you got a dude coming off the bench scoring 18. That is tremendous. So I'm just so happy for the kid. I mean, for 2 months, he couldn't hit anything. And it was getting to him mentally. It had to have, because he's used to scoring. He's a scorer. That's what I mean. He's a 1,000-point career scorer in college basketball. And so, it had to be weighing on him mentally. Yeah. And to see him come out of that on the other side now at a really good time of the year to start hitting shots. I'm tickled to death for the kid. And so he's my player of the game, 18 points. Gotta love it. Some of the other folks in the comments, let's see here. Mina, like he said, Ado has progressed so much. I love watching these kids grow in their strengths and talents. Absolutely. She said Meshack has stepped up as well. Absolutely. I mean, dude is arguably, like Rustin said, the best defender in the country. I mean, he's an elite defender. Jeff said, hard not to pick Gainey, but I'm going Zakai. Absolutely. I mean, that's a great choice. Zakai, just like Rustin said, I agree with Rustin. When you watch that, well, really the last two games, and you can make a case for more than that, Zakai has run the show. Like he's done what a point guard is supposed to do and control the game, run the show. And so that's been good to see. Like he said, leadership looks good on Zakai. Absolutely.
I like Cameron Carr. He's going to be a really good player down the road, and he's worked his tail off to earn some minutes. But my goodness, dude, read the room. Like you've earned some time. They're giving you a shot. Don't take every open look you see the minute you step on the court. I mean, he played 2 minutes last night and went 0 for 3 from 3 in 2 minutes. Like he's like Dominique Wilkins. He's the black hole of passing. Like the ball finds him, and that shot's going up. He doesn't seem to understand that it doesn't matter how hard he plays. If you go 0 for 3 from 3 in 2 minutes, the 2 minutes are going to disappear. Like you gotta understand the flow of the game a little bit.
Audrey said Meshack and Zakai are holy terrors on defense. That is an accurate assessment. Yes. Yeah. I like that assessment. Zakai, I think today it was Zakai. He was named as a Naismith National Defensive Player of the Year watch list person. So apparently we're in watch list season for basketball now.
Season.
Season. Yeah.
Did you notice there was a possession? I think it was early second half, and it happened so fast. I was like, wait, did I just see that right? LSU's point guard was calling a play, and he had his arm out and was defending the ball as he called the play. And out of nowhere, Zakai just took it from him. I mean, he's just regular dribble, defending the ball with his body, calling an offense, and all of a sudden Zakai had the ball, and it was like, what? How did he even get in there? Like it was so quick, and even LSU's point guard, he kind of flinched, like, wait, what just happened? And all of a sudden Zakai's gone. The things he's doing right now, I mean, even denying inbounds, like people struggle to get the ball in on basic inbounds plays when Zakai's on the ball. It's mind blowing.
What game was it? I don't know if it wasn't last night. It wasn't Kentucky. It may have been the game before Kentucky. The opposing team, because Zakai's on ball pressure, they started their offense with 14 seconds left on the shot clock.
Yeah. I think that was Kentucky. That happened a couple of times against Kentucky.
So over half of the shot clock was gone when they actually got to start their offense. I mean, that's fantastic. I had some really good comments come through there. Like he said, she's picking Awaka for the Kentucky game and Zakai for LSU. I think those are both good choices. I love Tyler's comment here. Tyler said, Coach Barnes' player development strategy has shown more this year than any year. I love it when announcers interview opposing coaches and they say, we didn't really know about Connect. I think that's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Kudos to Dalton for putting in the work too.
I think he's got a whole team of guys like that. Like, I think for the first time in maybe his entire career there, he has a whole roster of guys who are gym rats, and they're like, we don't worry about any of this other stuff. We're here to shoot.
Yeah. I love Jeff's comment. Jeff said, don't forget Vescovy. He can play defense pretty dang good. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, here's the reality of it. Santi is the reason why Tennessee ended up beating Georgia and coming back and beating Georgia.
Yeah.
Because when they started going to that full court press, Santi is the one who created multiple turnovers, which got them back in the game.
Yeah.
Because they were getting, little gimme layups at the rim off of steals from the full court press. And several of those were a direct result from Santi playing just really, really good full court press defense. So I think that's a great point by Jeff, because I mean, they got some dudes that'll get after it on defense, and that's a good thing. That never changes. Even if you're not hitting your shot, you can still get after it on defense. And so because of that, Tennessee's always going to have a chance in every game they play.
The most recent episode of Vol Club Confidential is an interview with Santi, and Austin Price at one point asked him what his favorite part of a game is, or something like that. What his favorite part of this season or his favorite part of a game this year was. And Santi wouldn't name names. Austin tried to get him to, but he refused. But he said there have been a couple of teams this year that he and Zakai have hounded so hard that their point guards during the game told their coach, I don't want to bring it up anymore. And he said that's his absolute favorite thing. Like, if he and Zakai can force the other team's players to say, I don't want the ball, then their day is made.
Like you said, Zakai is a pickpocket. Absolutely. I mean, he just twice, I can think of twice in my head immediately. He just took the ball from the opposing point guard last night. Just took it from him. Like, one time, dude was just dribbling the ball up the court, and Zakai just took it. I was like, how can you not see that if you're the opposing point guard? I don't know, but it was nice as a Tennessee fan. This was a comment related to the fact that team started their offensive possession and set with 14, over half the shot clock gone. She's right. That is otherworldly. Like you said, the Georgia game was one of her favorite games because how Tennessee was resilient and they came back in the game. Green Wave has asked a really good question. I'm going to save it because I think it's a really good question. We're going to end with that one. Let's see. Audrey said, can we give Coach Barnes a standing ovation for putting guys back in the game in the half when they had 2 fouls? Absolutely. Here's, in my opinion, Audrey, here's the best thing about what you just said there. The fact that Coach Barnes felt like he could do that shows that he now trusts the depth that they have.
Yep.
Because if he puts a guy in there and he picks up a 3rd foul or something like that real quick, then he's okay with the guys he has to put in behind them. He feels confident enough that they can get the job done. Yep. And so I'm so glad you said that, because That's, I mean, as a on outside looking in kind of situation here, that's what that tells me, is that he feels confident in his depth, and maybe this is the first time in quite a long time that he feels that confident.
Yep, definitely.
Let's see. Hey, Zach. Welcome, Zach. He's off work. He's with us now. Hashtag remember Kobe. I believe today is the anniversary of that tragic event, I think. If so, our thoughts are with their family. I like the mascot you have for your profile picture there, Zach.
It's a really angry Davy Crockett.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Zach said, I love everything from the Volunteers, but not Austin P.
I think he means Austin Price.
I think that's what he means too. What did Austin Price do that upset you, Zach? I need to know now. Because Austin's pretty good at his job, so I'm curious to know what he did now. So Zach said, I lost an NCAA football to an LSU fan, so I had to change my name on all my socials. Well, there you go. There you go. Oh man, that's pretty good. Let's see. So I want to go back to Green Wave's question because he had a fantastic question. He said, how far, by the way, welcome Green Wave. It's good to have you with us, buddy. He said, how far do we need to go in the NCAA tournament for this season to be considered a great season? So I think that's a really good question. Do you want me to answer, give you my answer first, and then you can give yours?
Sure, go ahead.
So I think there is, well, Tyler, okay, so Tyler just said it's a Final Four. Never happened. It's a simple answer. And Greenwave said, good to be your level champ. Hey, we appreciate that, man, very, very much. So I get why Tyler said Final Four. I get that. I do. It's difficult. Like you said, the national championship. Man, that's what I'm talking about. Natty or bust, baby. I love it. I love that. So here's my take on this. I don't think it's as simple as just naming a round and saying if we get there, awesome. If we don't, it was a terrible season. Or not terrible, but you get what I'm saying. Here's why I say that. Matchups are everything in the NCAA tournament. You could, my goodness, let's go. Okay, we're from Chattanooga. All right. Let's go back to 1996 when UTC made it to the Sweet 16. The reason UTC made it to the Sweet 16 is because their matchups in the first two rounds. They opened the tournament that year with Georgia,
who was greatly overrated.
Yes, absolutely. And as soon as everybody saw that, everybody knew, okay, UTC has a chance in this game. Like they can upset Georgia. If they beat Georgia, then they would play Illinois in the round of 32. Once again, everybody thought, oh, that's a winnable game. If they can get to Illinois, that's a good matchup for UTC. They could win that. The problem was going to be the Sweet 16 because then they had to play most likely Providence, who was actually ranked lower than Georgia. But because of the matchup problems that Providence created, Tennessee or UTC could not beat them. So it's all about matchups in the NCAA tournament. Tyler said, so by that logic, we should have advanced rather handedly last year. FAU, Fairleigh Dickinson. I get that.
I think we're saying two different things. I don't think you're referring to ranking matchups. A lot of it is literal matchups. How do you match up against the person across the way from you?
Sure.
The last few years, we've gotten beaten by teams with strong post players. One of the comments a minute ago was first time in forever we've had a legitimate post presence. It matters who's on the other side of the court.
Absolutely. So that's a perfect segue into my unfortunate scenario here. Let's say that Tennessee, and I don't think this will happen because I think Purdue's going to end up at the worst probably being the number 2 overall seed. I think they'll probably be the number 1 overall seed. But let's say by some weird chance, and I know that Joe Lunardi today moved Tennessee up to a potential 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. But we all know that means nothing, because if Tennessee loses 3 out of the next 4 games, which by the way, 3 of their next 4 games are on the road. So if they lose 3 of the next 4, they will not be a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. That whole mindset could change in 1 game, really. Now, is it a good thing that he did that? Because that means people are starting to consider that maybe these guys should be a number 1 seed. Yeah, that's a good thing for sure. That's a good thing. But let's say in a worst case scenario situation for Tennessee, they end up in the same region as Purdue. And let's say Purdue is the number 1 seed, Tennessee's number 2 seed, and they have to play each other in the Elite 8. Well, that is not a good matchup for Tennessee. Because if you look at Zach Edey with a scowl on your face, you get a foul called on you. I mean, like, it is absurd how kind referees are to Zach Edey. He gets a lot of calls that go his way. So that's not a good matchup for Tennessee. It's just not. So it's hard to, if they end up in the same region as Purdue, it's hard to say, oh, they didn't make it to the Final Four, terrible season. Not a great season. When in fact it was a great season. They just got shafted in the region they got put in, with Purdue as the number 1 seed and them the number 2 seed. So I don't think I can rightfully say how far they have to go in the tournament to go back to Green Wave's question here, which I think is a wonderful question. How far do they have to go in that tournament to be considered a great season? I think we can't. I don't think anybody can answer that until we see the bracket. And then you can look at, okay, here's potential matchups. Yeah, they better make it this far. They better make it this far. Or we could probably agree that it wasn't a successful tournament. So that's my take. What's your take on that?
No offense to Green Wave, but I hate the question. It's, the former basketball coach in me always reverts back to my livelihood's running around in the hands of 18 to 22-year-olds. And on any given night, one guy can get hot. When I was a high school coach, I coached in 4 state championships and finished second 4 times. All four times, 3. I can confidently say 3 of the 4 times we were the better team. But in all 4 scenarios, one guy got hot, and we couldn't stop him. It's the reality of basketball. It's one of the few sports where one guy can get on a heater and completely change the trajectory of an entire game.
Was his first name Dalton by a chance?
No. One of them was Reggie Buckner, who went on to be a 3-year starter at Ole Miss. And he dominated in the SEC, so that made me feel a little better. But it's just who you play matters, how your style lines up against their style matters, who's hot at the right time matters. Like, there's so many variables that play into it, and
who
I
makes
don't
free throws at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, who are the refs? What conference did they come from?
Yeah.
Are they Big Ten guys and they're going to let you be crazy physical? Or are the ACC guys and they're going to be pansies and call every little hand check? I mean, all those things matter. It's so much. I hate to say luck, but there's a lot of luck in March. It's all about how things fall. And I don't think whether you make it to a Sweet 16 or a Final Four in March dictates whether a season was successful or not. I mean, looking at the rest of the schedule, we have 9 games left. I think it lays out pretty nicely for us. I think we'll probably go 7-2. which means we'd finish 24-7. With 7 losses, we're probably a 2 seed.
That's what I'm thinking. When you said that, so that'll be a 2 seed.
There's just some, if you're a 2 seed, who's the 1 in your region? Is Houston the 1 in our region? If so, I like those odds. Houston's overrated. There's so many variables that play into
it. Audrey was agreeing with us about the matchup thing. She said, yes, exactly. It's about matchups. Jeff agreed. He said, it's personnel wise who you're matching up against. Jeff said he didn't just base the success of the whole season solely off the tournament, which I totally agree with that. And he said, but for the question, he would say Elite Eight, but hope for more. I think that's fair. Absolutely. If you had to say it now, being the 6th seed, we would hope that it would at least be the Elite Eight. And I agree with that. Let's see. Zach's answer was all the way national championship. He said,
I will add this though. I do think we have a roster that is going to create a lot of headaches for people.
Oh, for sure.
Because we can win in so many different ways. Yep. We can win defensively in a rock fight. We can go out and get on a heater and drop 15 threes in a game. We can
score 130 at Rupp Arena.
Yeah. We can shoot horribly and go pound it inside and attack the basket and run isolation plays and get Dalton isolated on the block, get Jonas isolated on the block, and just beat people up inside and win with skill. Like, we have a lot of different ways we can win a game. And so, the flip side of everything I just said was we could be that team that nobody wants to play because we're so versatile, and it doesn't matter what the matchup is, we're going to be a problem.
I totally agree. Zach said, we're cutting down the nets, baby. It's happening. And I think you're exactly right. When teams, on Selection Sunday, when they announce the bracket, no one is going to want to see Tennessee in their region because there's too many matchup problems.
Yep.
The team is too deep. They play too good a defense. No one's going to want to play Tennessee. And kudos to the coaching staff for assembling the team they have to be able to have that be the case.
We can play a speed. We can play a speed game. We can play a slow down bully game. Like, it doesn't matter. We can adapt to anything.
We've done both of those this year.
Yeah.
Kentucky and Illinois, respectively. Those are the two exact things you just described. Tyler said anyone but Shaw, Adams, and TV Teddy. Those are 3 famous officials that all Tennessee fans love.
I swear, I watch a lot of SEC games, and it is impossible to miss Pat Adams. Like, he just finds ways to insert himself into games and make calls that literally even the announcers, every game, they're like, we have no idea what he's looking at right now. It's unreal. And somehow he keeps getting to come back.
Audrey said, I like it when we are a problem. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Amen. Absolutely. That is nice to be on that side of the issue, right? That's a good point. When was the last time we could say that? Probably the Admiral Schofield and Brent Williams days. So I totally agree. Like you said, me too, Audrey. She agrees. She likes it when we're the problem. Audrey made a good point, and it matters who are the refs. Do we go on a cold shooting run like we saw earlier this season? Are we healthy? I think that's been, and I mentioned this to a couple of folks I was talking to at lunch today. I think that's been the most pleasant thing. 2 months ago, like in the month of December, we were consistently having 3, 4, sometimes 5 or more minute cold spells during the game. Thankfully, over the last month, really 2 months, that has not happened. So far in the months of January and February, those cold spells have been way less than they were in December and even in November. And that's a very good thing. We're starting to hit shots and shoot the ball consistently, and that's the right time of year to be doing that. Green Wave said, fair enough, Rustin. I only ask it because I think a lot of people have certain expectations. You're exactly right. They sure do. He said, this is feeling like a really huge run. For sure, we have to see the brackets and get to that point first. And you're exactly right, Green Wave. There are people who they're saying if you don't get the Final Four, it's a wasted season or that kind of thing. And unfortunately, that it's just I don't think it's that simple. So I agree with you. Like he said, I think Kentucky scouted Dalton, but didn't scout Zakai, uh, Josiah, Santi, or everybody else, and it came back to bite them.
I think Kentucky is the traditional one and done roster that Cal likes to build. And I think they've gotten to the point in their season where having a bunch of 18-year-olds running around has become a bit of a problem, and they've got to figure out how to rein them back in. They're 2-3 in their last 5. And if you look at the 3 losses, it's mostly defensive breakdowns. You can sit there and game plan all you want, but when you got a bunch of 18-year-olds running around, the odds of the game plan actually being executed the way you discussed, it's coin toss.
Yeah. Kelly said, "What's up, bros? Hey, go! We appreciate that, man. Good to see you. Go Big Orange. Totally agree." Let's see. Elijah said, "What's up, guys? Hey, good to have you, Elijah. Welcome, buddy. Glad you're with us." Jeff asked a really good question. Well, hang on. I'm going to star that and come back to it because other people are still talking about. Tyler said they had a team meeting after the South Carolina game and agreed they need to step up to help Dalton per Jimmy Dykes. That is good info right there. I like that. Absolutely.
Well, what I liked about it was it wasn't a players only meeting, which are the death knell.
Yeah, for real.
It was Rick Barnes standing in front of everybody saying, "You're not going to stand around and watch Dalton play anymore. You're going to get involved." And that's what needed to be said.
Yeah, when there's player only meetings and people are falling on helmets, it's not a good situation. Yeah. Let's see. Audrey said she hates that for Kentucky. What you just said there. Let's see. Zach said, "I know saying winning the Natty in basketball, but can you imagine if we do? Natty in basketball with a baseball team stacked as well. 2 Natties coming back to Knoxville in 1 year. That'd be incredible."
Don't forget about softball and volleyball. We've got 2 teams there. They can do some damage.
So to go back to Jeff's question, I think this is a great question, Jeff. He said, "I haven't heard your all's opinion on the investigation and lawsuit. If I missed it, I apologize, but would really like to know your thoughts." So I'm glad you asked. We have actually, our last live show was last Sunday. We were off last Thursday, and the most recent Sunday. So I guess it was 2 Sundays ago was our last live show. And that's because I was out of town at an event in work. Yeah, exactly. I was working from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Capturing a corporate event in Orlando every day for 5 straight days. So that's why we didn't go live in that. So I actually missed being live with everybody down there those 2 days. But it was super fun. I got a lot of great shots. I do event photography and videography and stuff on the side. So that's what I was doing. Like you said, glad you're back. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. So the reason that we actually haven't given an opinion about it or said anything about it on our show, because since all that info came out, we haven't been live. Zach just gave his opinion. Zach said it's bullcrap. Tennessee will come out on top. So my opinion boils down to one specific thing. Rustin, do you want me to say my one specific thing first?
Sure.
Okay, so my one specific thing, and this, I think the whole situation, and my goodness, there's so many different elements you could talk about, that even the Virginia Attorney General is getting involved now, and that to me says like, they know Tennessee's in the right here, because other states' attorney generals would not be getting involved if that was not the case. But here's what it comes down to me, and I think this is going to be the main thing that ends up deciding the case. I'm gonna read Tyler's comment first, because Tyler is extremely well versed in the Tennessee Athletic Department because he worked in the Tennessee Athletic Department for years. He said, if anyone in college athletics administration knows what he's doing, it's Danny White. This is also a great reminder of why it's so important and positive that Chancellor Plowman is involved. On my episode a few months ago, he mentioned that. Absolutely. 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 Like you said, we definitely came out loaded for bear. Absolutely. So here's the one thing, and I think really the whole situation will boil down to this one thing. And court systems cannot allow this to be the case because then, well, I'll explain. The one thing that, and Chancellor Plowman mentioned this in her very straightforward letter that she wrote to the president of the NCAA. You cannot retroactively apply rules and regulations that were not in place at the time that these events happened. You can't make up these new rules and say, oh, and we're going to retroactively apply them. You can't expect people to know what rules you're thinking about that you'll put in place months later at that time. That would be like me coming up with a rule for my kids, not telling them. Well, no, that's too kind, actually. That would be like my kids doing something, and then 7 months later, I come up with a rule, and I'm like, oh, you couldn't do that. So because you did it that one time that I never, and you had no idea that you couldn't do it. It wasn't. I never said anything about it, but I'm going to retroactively apply punishment now because you did that 7 months ago. That's absurd. No halfway decent judge is going to look at that and say, yeah, that's okay. No, you have to have stuff in writing. You have to have the rules and regulations in writing so that every single team in the country knows this is what we can and what we cannot do. You can't say, oh, well, we're going to make this a rule now, and we're going to go back and retroactively apply this now and make everybody adhere to this, even though they had no clue about it when these things happen. Because my goodness, okay, if they do that, then can we go back and change outcomes of entire seasons and take national championships away from teams if they did something 10 years ago that would now be considered not allowed? Can we go back and take away national championships from people and say that they were ineligible for that because they broke the rules that we've now applied retroactively 10 years ago? Like, that is such a dangerous and slippery slope. There's no way any judge would allow that precedent to be set. It just wouldn't happen. So in my opinion, that's the one thing that this is going to boil down to, and the one reason why Tennessee will not be penalized from this issue. I'm done now.
So I've got 4 points in an invitation. So this is going to be a long sermon.
Well, hang on. So Mina, like you said, bingo. She agreed with me. Go ahead.
So number one, we did not sue the NCAA. Virginia did. We joined their lawsuit. That suit was already in place because of the double transfer rule, and we joined their lawsuit. So actually, the Virginia Attorney General was first, and we piggybacked on theirs. The reason we piggybacked on theirs was the same reason that the Virginia Attorney General started the first lawsuit. All the violations are bogus. You can't go back and retroactively make up rules. You can't go back and say that you're going to pick and choose. Initially Tennessee, Florida, and Florida State were named. Okay, well, meanwhile, Georgia's quarterback is down in Athens actively saying that he wants $4 million or he's not coming back, publicly making that statement. Caleb Downs, like anybody who's around the Caleb Downs situation, and I am connected to his father, so I can attest this is firsthand knowledge. Caleb Downs was never going to Georgia. He was going to Ohio State from day one because they made a significantly better NIL offer. And Travaris Robinson leveraged the idea of Caleb coming with him to Georgia to get a job at Georgia. And now Georgia's pretty ticked off because they thought it was a package deal. And T-Rob basically lied to them to get a job because he knew that Kalen DeBoer wasn't going to keep him at Alabama. And, so you've got a whole tangled web there where not only do you have a kid going to another school because they made an offer of the most money, you got a coach lying about him being a deal to get a job. So, there's a whole mess of issues there. That's like tampering times 1,000. So that the fact that they're picking and choosing who they're going after is just the NCAA trying to flex a muscle that honestly they don't have. So the absolute best thing that happened in the last 2 weeks was Greg Sankey and Tony Batiti getting together as SEC and Big Ten and just saying, you know what, y'all suck at this, so we're just going to figure it out and tell y'all what to do. That was the absolute best meeting that possibly could have happened. And if the NCAA is smart before they go bankrupt and just drown and go under, they need to name Greg Sankey the president of the NCAA and let him run the show, because he's the only person in all this that has everybody's respect and who can right the ship before it sinks. So, the two people in the room, the two adults in the room that actually have a say are the commissioner of the Big Ten and the commissioner of the SEC. No one else matters. And they all know that. So, those two individuals just need to decide everything before this goes off a cliff. And then everybody else just needs to get on board with it, because whatever those two individuals say, it's going to end up being right. The absolute worst thing that can happen in all this, I saw 2 days ago, Tommy Tuberville has inserted himself back into this. There's two other members of Congress that have inserted themselves back into this. Sweet Jesus, do not allow any politicians to be involved in this process, because none of them have a freaking clue what they're talking about, and they're going to make this 1,000 times worse. The two people who need to decide are Greg Sankey and Tony Batiti, and everybody else just needs to say, yes, sir, and go along with whatever the two of them say. Tommy Tuberville was on a radio station about a month ago talking about a bill that he was trying to write to help with NIL. And he literally said on the air that there were members of the Senate who were in a negotiation about this bill who couldn't tell him how college athletics even work. Like they never watched a game. And they're in a meeting trying to come up with litigation about how they're going to manage NIL. It was insanity. And they're just going to make this 1,000 times worse. The last thing that I'll say, and Cole Kublik went off about this last week, but I agree with him 1,000%. This idea of collective bargaining that is coming down the pipe and is gaining some steam, and more schools are talking about it, that is the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen in college athletics. And if you want to destroy the NCAA tomorrow, come up with a collective bargaining agreement. Because you know what's not going to happen? For those of you who don't know how collective bargaining works, there's an agreement with a union where every player gets a certain amount of money out of royalties and revenues. Well, you know what's not going to happen? Texas A&M, who has an annual athletic department revenue of $200 million, is not going to agree to share with Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt's never going to contribute enough to the collective for it to make sense for anybody who actually cares about athletics. And so, we're going to have this massive divide of schools, and it's going to become a haves and have-nots thing where all the schools that have massive revenue are going to be like, we're not sharing with UNC Asheville. That's crazy. And, the Michigans of the world are going to be like, we're not even fraternizing with those people. That's insane. We're not sharing our money with them. And so, what you're essentially going to do is you're going to destroy Group of 5 schools, 1 AA. They'll all just stop playing because they won't be able to afford otherwise. And all the money will go to the top 40 schools who will, do what they do, and everything will move forward just like it always has. And the smaller schools will all go by the wayside. So collective bargaining would be the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen. If you haven't seen it, I mean, this is how insane it's gotten. Tulsa, the University of Tulsa's football coach, they posted a video of him today in an interview, and he read a tweet or a text from a recruit.
Yeah.
Now, the content of the text was comical because it was just so ludicrous what this kid was asking this coach, but you have to pay attention to what he said. Okay, this is a Power 5 kid who clearly wasn't very good because he's transferring to Tulsa. So he's lost his job in the Power 5 and he's transferring to Tulsa. And in the text message, he said to the coach, I get $6,000 to $7,000 a month now, and I have 2 dogs and a girlfriend. What am I supposed to do? How much are you going to give me? Okay, well, separate out the 2 dogs and a girlfriend part because that was just dumb. A kid at a Power 5 school who hasn't been a contributor and hasn't done well and is having to take a step back to a group of 5 school just told that head coach that he makes $72,000 to $84,000 a year in NIL. $6,000 to $7,000 a month. The group of 5 coaches like, we can't pay him anything.
Right.
We don't have that kind of money. But to the kid, it was just a normal conversation. I'm making 70 grand right now. What are you going to give me? That's what everybody wants to avoid, is a collective bargaining agreement where that conversation becomes common. And everybody's like, oh, if I go to this school, I'll get this much a year. If I go to this school, I'll get this much a year. Nobody wants that. And at the end of the day, there's only 2 people who can solve this and 2 people who can make sure none of that happens. And it's Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti. And everybody just needs to go with whatever those 2 men want to do.
Yeah, that similar situation also happened at Marshall. They had a coach from Marshall talk about it. He goes, man, we can't do that. We're Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. Greenway said he saw a very recent article where On3 talked with 15 anonymous 4- and 5-star players about how NIL works. They all made it very clear that Tennessee isn't doing NIL any different than anyone else. Zach said it's just because they're scared of Nico. And like he said, yep, it's because they're scared of Nico. Greenwave said 100% love how Dondi and Danny reply to this. I agree, totally. Totally agree. Zach said Zach's all in on Nico, man. He's like, he's going Heisman right now. He said he's going to catch the world on fire in 2024. Like he said, that the NCAA wants to shut Pandora's box, and that is correct. That I agree. Audrey said he just bought a Lamborghini. Audrey, were you referring to Georgia's quarterback? Is that who you're referring to?
Yep. He posted it all over social.
Yep. Let's see. Greenwave said, I recently tried to flex muscle that I don't have anymore. It was bad. Hopefully the NCAA learns the same lesson.
Yeah, their muscles are officially gone.
Tyler, who is a preacher, a minister, he said, first Rustin sermon since football season did not disappoint. Zach said, hey, whatever doesn't hurt you, it makes you stronger, right? So he said this is going to make Tennessee stronger for that Natty and Heisman run.
This isn't even a real investigation. Like, people just need to realize this is nothing. It's gonna go away. The NCAA, it's already been hinted that Oregon's considering jumping into the lawsuit. Florida's probably going to jump in if this thing doesn't, get killed fast. Like, there's all these schools that are already hinting that they're going to jump in and join. And all they're really waiting on is, again, the 2 individuals I just said to come back and tell them all what to do. They're just waiting on Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti.
Like he said, this definitely does not need legislature from D.C. I agree totally, because they're going to want to get their money out of it too if they start getting involved. Tyler said, preach. Greenway. He said those girlfriends aren't cheap.
So that's essentially, for those of you who haven't seen it, that's essentially what the kid was saying. He said, I get 6,000 to 7,000 a month right now. I have 2 dogs and a girlfriend. What do I do? And the coach told the media, well, first thing I said was get rid of the dogs, and I can't tell you what to do with the girl.
I need to know, were they golden doodles? That's what I need to know. We need to know what type of dogs. Jeff said that there are some states that have laws where public employees cannot unionize. So that will probably come into play in this whole deal as well.
It's definitely an obstacle, but if you are part of a national association, so if the NCAA comes up with a collective bargaining, which I'm sure they would take a percentage of, then they can unionize because it's not state by state, it's national.
So, like you asked, is NCAA lobbying Congress? Now, that's a good question. Money talks.
Yep.
That's all. That would be my answer to that. I guarantee if they're, I'm sure they are, but if they're not, there are many people in DC who would like them to.
Well, and let's not mince words. It's an election year. And every politician wants to win elections. And so if there's a way they can be front and center in this whole thing just for the visibility of it, they're going to do it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And in NCAA, EA Sports NCAA coming out this year. So there's a whole other level of NIL royalties and stuff that'll be involved in all this.
My favorite part of this whole thing, have you seen the SEC's latest SEC Network, their latest ad campaign?
Mm-mm.
It's all about how well the SEC manages NIL programs.
Let's see. Tyler said about my golden doodle comment. He said that grooming bill will be serious dollars for them golden doodles, man.
So I was a college athlete. There were nights when we were like looking for quarters so we could go get a taco. This kid literally just texted a coach, I make 6,000 to 7,000 a month. Like, I can't fathom when I was 19, 20 years old, the university giving me $72,000 to $84,000 a year. Like that just blows my mind.
Must be nice. And
he wasn't any good. He's transferring down. He wasn't a good player.
Yeah. Elijah said, I can't wait to see the downfall of the NCAA, something I've wanted for a while. Elijah, I would venture to guess there's quite a few people who share that sentiment with you.
Mm-hmm.
Audrey said, please explain why talking heads cannot understand that Spire Sports is not a collective. They're a marketing company. The Vol Club is Tennessee's collective. Audrey's exactly correct.
I was really, really proud of Austin Price. Last week he was on Mac and Cube.
Apparently Zach wasn't.
And Greg McElroy asked him some pretty pointed questions and kind of insinuated that Spire was illegal. And Austin was trying to tactfully respond. And Greg literally said out loud, this isn't hard. It's yes or no. Is the owner of Spire a booster? And Austin said, no, he is not. And he named him and explained why he's not and said he's an agent who represents lots of guys in the NFL, and he is not a booster. He is an alum, but he understands he can't be a booster, so he never gives to the university. And put him in his place. And I was like, yeah, there you go. It was fun to listen to.
I like the fact that the conversation turned to which is more important, the dogs that are potential golden doodles or the girlfriend. Audrey said, I'd have gotten rid of the girlfriend before I got rid of the dogs. Jeff said correct. I don't know if he was talking about getting rid of the dogs first or what, or if he was commenting on what you were saying. Let's see. I'm reading through some of the comments here. Jeff said he doesn't see the NCAA doing it as far as unionizing, but the conferences might, which also takes states out.
Yep.
Audrey said
They need to avoid that like the plague. Like that is the worst decision they could possibly make.
Audrey said if they want to be elected / reelected, then they need to stay far away from NIL.
The only problem is they do want to be reelected, and they think that being in the forefront of it is going to get them reelected. I wish I could remember the exact quote, but Tommy Tuberville told some stories about things that people in Congress asked when they first started talking about the bill. And one person, I feel like he said it was somebody from either Illinois or Iowa. Somebody asked the question, wait, college players get paid money?
Yeah.
This is who
Shocking.
we want navigating the bill?
Yeah. Audrey said Spire Sports has been in business for over 25 years.
Yep.
Obviously, Tennessee's NIL stuff has not been in place that long. So that is clearly a separate organization. I appreciate that comment because it does indicate how they are different entities.
Well, and let's go back to the very beginning. When all this started, the NCAA very clearly said, we do not want the universities involved with the NIL collectives at all. They need to be standalone groups outside the university. Don't talk to them. Let them function independently. Well, as soon as they said that, they accidentally made the mistake of that means they're not a part of the membership. So the NCAA has zero authority over those collectives. None.
Yep.
Zero.
Yep.
Then they realized they made a mistake and they tried to put the toothpaste back in the tube and said, oh, we changed our mind. Actually, we want the NIL collectives to be part of the university and we want the university to manage it. Well, you can't do that after you've already said, no, this is how we're going to do it. And people have started moving money around and creating marketing packages and signing contracts. Like you can't just retroactively go, oh, wait, no, we changed our mind. We're going to do this now. And, that's
right.
One of the biggest things, and it won't hold up one day in court. Like if the NCAA tries to say that they're over the collectives, that's getting thrown out day one. So, it's the whole thing's lunacy.
Tyler said when Rustin was in college, he was just happy to keep his practice jersey.
We didn't get to. We had to steal them. If we wanted any gear at all, we had to steal it. The university wouldn't let us have anything.
And now they get millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Go Big Orange VFL 044. Welcome. Good to have you with us. He said, Go Vols. Dalton Connect is the white Kevin Durant. He is a very versatile player, no doubt. He is able to get his own shot whenever he wants it, and that is a fun thing to watch. Like he said, geez, no wonder Saban retired. He should. Yeah.
So the other thing people should pay attention there is Jeff Hafley. Boston College's head coach taking the Green Bay Packer defensive coordinator job. And when they asked him why, he said, transfer portal and NIL. That's a sitting Power 5 head coach who was like, nope, not doing this. Liam Cohen left Kentucky to take the OC job with the Buccaneers. When they asked him why, transfer portal and NIL. Cole Kublik was talking about it a few days ago on his show. He was like, I've talked to a lot of coaches, many of which would stun people, who have said, if the NFL calls, I'm gone, because they're so sick of all this.
Yeah, I understand. Go Big Orange said, don't be fooled. Nico scared Saban away. Jeff said, thanks, guys. Loved hearing your thoughts and opinions. I appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you so much. It was a great question. Tyler said, this is just another reason why coaching is more than just X's and O's. You're exactly right, Tyler. You are exactly right. Coach / general manager / counselor /
financial advisor.
Things. Yeah. Absolutely. Elijah said we need this Arizona loss to keep us a 1 seed. So I'm assuming Arizona must be losing as we're live here. I'd be curious to know who they're playing and losing against. Well, so here's the deal on the. Go ahead.
They're down by 2 with 30 seconds in overtime to Utah.
Oh wow. Go Utes. So for Tennessee's basketball team, obviously softball team has now started their season. They have started off with a bang, very much so.
Poor UT Arlington rolled 3 different pitchers out there today, and all 3 of them got shelled. It didn't matter who was out there; they all got ripped.
Tyler said the Lady Vols are sinking fast. The Lady Vols lost this evening. Hopefully, they can bounce back in their next game. Elijah said the softball team looks good. They do. They're preseason number 2. Let's just hope that Peyton Gottschall and Perkins can step in and fill the shoes of Ashley Rogers, because that is not going to be easy shoes to fill.
Gottschall looked good today. She went 4 innings, only allowed 2 hits, struck out 7. And then Charlie Orsini came in and threw the last inning. But they had 15 runs on 13 hits, run ruled them. Probably the biggest surprise was Sophia Nugent got the start behind the plate, and Julia Katsuinopoulos moved to first base, which, Sophia Nugent transferred from Oklahoma. They've got a 3-game series this weekend against Baylor, so it'd be interesting to see how that goes. But it'll be interesting to see if they platoon Katsuinopoulos and Nugent between first and catcher to keep them fresh. But kind of surprised that Katsuinopoulos didn't start behind the plate today.
You're just showing off because you can say her last name right.
Practicing for hours. It's right up there with the Yamaliava.
Yeah, exactly. So the basketball team, they're blah blah blah. I can't even talk. I need to practice for hours. They are in action again on Saturday.
It's the primetime game against Texas A&M.
Yep. 3 of their next 4 games are road games. They have at College Station this Saturday. Next Wednesday on Valentine's Day, they play at Arkansas. Then they get Vanderbilt at home next Saturday. And then they're at Missouri after that. So they got 3 out of their 4 next games are on the road. Never easy on the road in the SEC. But the way they're playing right now, you got to like their every game. You got to like their odds in every single one of them. Tyler said 4-0. I hope. Absolutely. Totally agree. Those 4 games should be wins. They just should. After that, the schedule changes drastically, because then you've got Auburn, Kentucky, and a couple others. I think Bama's in there again. So the schedule changes quite drastically after those 4 games.
So I don't want to be skies falling, but Tyler made the comment the Lady Vols are sinking fast. It ain't going to get better. They have 6 games left. I hate to say this out loud, but they legitimately could go 0-6. 2 of them are against South Carolina. Those are 2 definite
those are losses. Yeah.
Those
are losses.
They have to play LSU. That's probably a loss. They have to go to Vanderbilt. That's probably a loss. There's 0-4 right there. And then they got Arkansas this Monday, who is better than them and more athletic. And we've been saying it for months. Athletic teams beat them. So that could be 0-5. And then they've got Texas A&M at home at the end of the month, who right now is probably a better team too. So they have 6 games left, and they could legitimately go 0-6.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope it doesn't happen.
Which means they would finish the season 14-14.
And not in the NCAA tournament, if that's the case.
Definitely not. They're on the bubble right now.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate everybody joining us tonight. This has been a lot of fun. We had some great questions there. We really appreciate that. That's why we love doing this. We love talking to you guys and hearing your thoughts and your questions and discussing all of it, because that's what makes this whole shindig a good time, fun time. I'm so hip and down with it. I use the word shindig. Audrey said, "Can we figure out a way to get Big Eye to walk up without the tomfoolery?" Hey, I like that, Audrey. I use the word shindig. Audrey's using tomfoolery. We're hip. We are down with the current trends. I love it.
I think there should be a sacrificial student out of the student section at every game whose job is to walk up and sucker punch Tobey during warm up lines. Um, you know, just to set the tone.
Yeah. Elijah said Saturday is going to be a close game against Texas A&M. Calling it now. I agree. I totally agree. You got to go to College Station. Never easy. And yeah, I totally agree. I'll just say hootenanny.
Saturday
we'll have to have a show where we have to use all words from like 30 or 40 years ago minimum.
Saturday will probably be decided by Zakai. A&M doesn't really have a point guard that's defensive. Their primary ball handler is an offensive guy, doesn't play very good defense. So it'll be interesting to see who they put on Zakai. And if Zakai can really kind of set the tone and run things, we can go into College Station and beat them. They don't really have a secondary scorer. Like their point guard is the guy and everything runs through him. And if you shut him down, they just don't score. So it'll be interesting to see who we put on that guy. If it's Santi or if it's Zakai. He's a little bigger than Sakai and a little stronger. So I could almost see Santi being the guy guarding him. But it'll be interesting to watch that, how they orchestrate those matchups.
Like you said, Z can really skedaddle though. This is my favorite comment strand we've ever had on our show. I'm loving it. Let's see. Audrey said she didn't think it was that sucker punch that got him twisted up. Elijah said it'll be Zakai or Meshack. Agreed. Tyler makes a great point. Tyler said at College Station and Fayetteville have not been our friends in recent history. Here's to change.
Honestly, though, I don't think Fayetteville is going to be an issue this year. That is an internal dumpster fire. Like they have so many problems right now.
Well, we are so happy to be back on after a short week hiatus here. And so we will be back Sunday night at 9:00 on YouTube, X, and Facebook. So we hope you join us then as well, 9:00 Eastern time, Sunday night. And we'll be recapping what happened against Texas A&M and College Station on Saturday night. So we hope everybody has a wonderful Friday and Saturday ahead of you. And as always, go Vols. And Elijah said Arizona's going to double overtime right now.
Yep.
So I'm going to go watch that.
Arizona just missed a shot at the buzzer to put into double overtime.
Well, I hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and we look forward to seeing everybody back with us Sunday night. Go Vols, everybody.